Well, welcome back to another episode of Cooking Candace. Join us on today's show as I completely cremate the crack conspiracies conjured up in the comprehensively kooky consciousness that is Candace Owens. Let's begin.
You can pick the place, you can pick the time. I say we do it tomorrow. We don't need to plan for this. We don't need lawyers in between us, lawyer statements. It's not how I roll, okay? I don't care about any of that. I want it to be authentic, so I accept it. With whistles and bells, everything, I fully accept. I say let's do it tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow came and she certainly changed her tune.
And I opened the tweet, which went out from Blake Neff around midnight last night. And here's what he wrote. I'm like, how am I supposed to see this? The live stream we announced on the show Wednesday has been set. That would imply to the audiences that they reached out to me and we set a time. No.
Because once again, in the world of Candace, where the whole world revolves around Candace, if Turning Point USA were going to hold an event and did not organise and plan this around Candace's very important schedule, you know, even though she'd already said any time, any place, I'll be there.
At our studio here in Phoenix.
So I accept it. With whistles and bells, everything, I fully accept. I say let's do it tomorrow.
You know, well then, they're definitely being disingenuous. Now, could Turning Point USA do the live stream virtually and have Candace attend virtually? Yeah, they absolutely could. I don't think that would hurt them. So it's kind of fair that Candace says, hey, why can't you do that? However, I do just want to go through some of the reasons. Because initially, Candace said, I can't do it because it's the same time as my show. And then that very day, she did her show an hour later for no reason. So she can shift her show around. Hey, if you like this kind of content, please consider dropping a like and a follow. It really means a lot to the channel.
Here is what Blake tweeted out just now before we went live on the show. Yesterday, we made it clear that we would be scheduling a formal response to allegations and accusations that you have made. We have decided that that response will be delivered during a live stream, as he said, a live stream, on December 15th. Thank you for your response letting us know that you will not be joining the in-person conversation. We will be proceeding without you. Why are you proceeding without me? To have a conversation that is about me. Why am I getting 24 hours to respond? Why do you need me there in person if you are trying to be sincere and answer the very many questions? Accept it. With whistles and bells, everything, I fully accept. I say let's do it tomorrow.
Then she said, oh, I can't do it because of my husband, because he's got an important business partner flying in. And then she said, oh, no, I can't do it because my husband said no, because he's the boss and he's in charge. Okay, sure, Candace. And then, you know, oh, I need to have to ask all these questions. And if you don't agree to all my conditions, then obviously you were never genuine about all this. And this just adds to the guilt. This is the game she plays. And at no point did Turning Point say that this was a debate that was going to be revolved around Candace Owens. She did that on her own.
In the near future, there will be a live stream. If Candace is available, we would sincerely welcome her participation in that.
They said we were holding this debate and you can attend. If you're not going to be there in person, we're going to continue without you. So I don't know where Candace gets the audacity to say this has to revolve around me. Now, one of the things that the guy from Turning Point USA had said that some of the staff from Turning Point USA had received a whole bunch of harassment from some of Candace Owens' fans. In fact, the harassment is so bad that it was worse than harassment they had received from groups like Antifa.
My friends have had to endure harassment from people who have gotten whipped up by what Candace is saying. In fact, I would say we have suffered more harassment from these people than we have from Antifa supporters who overtly celebrate Charlie's murder.
Now, Candace's reaction to this is really telling because she says, no, oh, this is a shocking thing. I can't believe you're calling my listeners Antifa.
It's very silly to attack your own audiences who are concerned and your own donors who are concerned and say, you're Antifa if you don't accept this absurd Fed slop. If you're not going to drink the Fed slop, then you are Antifa.
What you didn't actually do, he said, the harassment from some of your listeners was worse than we've received from extremist groups. Okay? Now, you can say, hey, that's not true. He should provide some evidence. Yeah, fair enough. Okay. But Candace's reaction to this is really interesting because she just says, oh, instead of addressing the claim, which would be really simple. You could just say, hey, I don't think that's happening, but hey, look, just to all my listeners out there, absolutely do not harass Turning Point USA staff. My issue is with the upper management. You absolutely shouldn't be harassing just people that work there. That's not. But Candace doesn't seem to care about that.
Like I said, this is so obvious. He is being completely destroyed in the comments because what's happening at Turning Point, and I've seen this happen before, is they now believe that they are smarter than their audience, right? They think they are smarter than their small pocket donors. They can pull such an obviously crappy public move like this. This is a disaster, okay? It is a dumpster fire. That's the only way to describe what is happening at Turning Point USA today and right now is a dumpster fire. Everyone can read this for what it is. As I said, they are getting destroyed in the comments. Like, really, guys? I maintain that Turning Point is engaged in a cover-up. That is how I feel. They are using left-wing tactics, calling us names rather than answering us questions. It's name call. All Blake Neff did was name call.
In fact, there's very little in Charlie's legacy that Candace actually seems to care about. It's only her own personal history with Charlie that she seems to care, because she has very little consideration for the organization he built, for the people around him, but none of them are good enough. And it occurred to me, like, especially when she told that story about being his wingman, that this is like, I don't know if you've ever seen like women who want some guy or in love with some guy and they won't choose her, and so she stays on as the best friend, as the wingman, and is always hanging around, never, always around him, always the best friend, never the bride. But if you ever strike one of these women, you'll notice that whenever that guy is not around and she's talking about the people that he surrounds him, they're very negative about those people. They will absolutely tear everybody down around them because none of those people he surrounds him are good enough. Only she is good enough for him, and he just doesn't see that. This explains how Candace is acting, because she wants to tear down Charlie's organization. She wants to tear down all the people around Charlie. And has even started attacking Charlie Kirk's wife. Nobody is safe from Candace Owens' wrath, and personally I think that's because Candace has always been in love with Charlie, and now that he's gone, nobody is there to stop her from tearing everybody down around him who, in her opinion, kept her from Charlie. Anyway, that's my thoughts, and I'm really keen to hear your guys, so please let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to address them and be back in the next video.